All right, hello, hello, hello. Welcome to a ToAD race. This is the first day of ToAD in the category 3-4s. This is Janesville. Janesville is notorious slash famous for just doing tons and tons of preems, which is awesome. So the plan today was for me to sprint for preems and then try to lead out Andy, who's my teammate, who's signed up for the whole series, and see if we can get him some points in the overall series. So I have a truly awful clip in, pretty embarrassing, but you know we get there and then we're kind of at the back. But the course is kind of this Oklahoma shape, you can see. So this is all coming into the downhill side of it now. So it's kind of like a downhill and then a swoopy right, swoopy left, and crossing the bridge at the bottom to turn left and come back up the hill. So in this race, we were trying to do some research. There weren't any huge teams. I don't think there are any teams with more than like 3 people. It's also a Thursday, so ToAD's a big deal, but not quite as big a deal that everyone's going to take off work to come do it. So there wasn't really a huge team present, so we kind of figured this will be kind of maybe a little surgy, not a ton of control, and good opportunities for just a 2-man group to try and do a quick lead out and get a result. So this left turn here was a little interesting. So it really narrows down, and you can see this rider's a couple in front of me. They're trying to figure out like what is going on here. And yeah, there's like a soft curb that leads up onto some kind of like pavers that you could ride if you wanted to, but it's a little disconcerting if you haven't really ridden the course before, kind of familiar with it, to see a curb coming up. So definitely caused a little pinching there. So here's the finishing straight. So this is uphill. It's 300 meters-ish from that turn at the bottom up to the finish line here. And this hill is, 3-4% at the steepest part, and then levels off to like 2 for a lot of it. And then someone just went flying over the barriers there. No idea what happened there. Like, he popped up, like his helmet flew off. Like, he was so mad. And I don't know what happened, but that was pretty freaky. Anyway, so here comes Andy, the teammate, and he said something like, if that's happening, we're too far back, we gotta move up. And I was like, yeah, that's a fair point. So we're gonna cut to a preem lap here, and this preem lap is pretty indicative of how all the preem laps went. And there were like, 5 or 6 preems of like $100 or $200 each. So Janesville, really, they make it rain on the preems, which is cool. So I am, 20th here, which is not very far up, and this is the preem lap. So I have to make up, probably 15 positions to get in position for the sprint, which I don't really do, as you'll see. So kind of coming through here, like this is a fairly early in the race, and we're still kind of figuring out the lines, or I was at least, through that kind of like left, right, left section, and then on the left side here, it was possible to kind of shoot down this gap and just basically hope you can cut in front of the pack before the turn, which is like sort of dive bombing, but like not quite. And see this OK rider up there, he does it successfully, but I am still back here in like 20th, and so it's not looking good for me. And we can see how the sprint goes, but yeah. So coming to the last turn here, this is 300 to go, and I spike it up, I guess, reasonably high and start coming around the outside, because I'm kind of hoping that just everyone leaves it super late and I can get up to speed and just whiz by and get it. But then this guy up there in the red, he starts going from like 150, and I'm like, well, all right, that's no preem for me. So again, that's kind of indicative of how all the preem laps went. I was never at the front enough when they called the preem laps to really be in good position to sprint for it, and I wasn't going to like do a nuclear effort and totally waste myself in the middle of the race for going for a preem, because I still wanted to lead Andy out for some serious points. So yeah, after the preem lap, we just kind of stayed up here, and like sometimes this can be a breakaway tactic where you just go for the preem or don't go for the preem, but then just ride really hard afterwards, because there's all these gaps opened up from everyone who didn't want to sprint, and that could definitely be successful. But this race basically stayed together until the end. So here we go with this is just after 2 laps to go, and so now I'm on lead-out duty for Andy, who's right behind me here. And I figured out the lines a little better here. Like this inside was, I guess from the outside now, but the inside's coming through that last turn, and the turn before it was the place to be, I thought. And so we come down this bridge, and we're going to hang this left here, and we're still, again, like a little far back, which is, honestly, I wasn't, it's not ideal, but it's not the end of the world, because in my experience with these 3-4 races at ToAD, especially if there's no team presence, like, there's going to be a giant last lap surge, and you can either try to defend against that if you're in, like, the top 10 or top 5, or you can be part of that surge and just go from, like, 20th up to 5th from that. And I figured it was fine to try and just be part of it, because it was just me and Andy, and, like, it didn't make sense to try and, compete with a big, line of guys coming by you at 30 miles an hour. It was much easier to be that line of guys. So I was hoping for a big surge, and there's kind of on the left, so we're on the wrong side of the road here, but I wanted to be on the right because I think the outside through this top turn was my preferred line, at least. So kind of going, and Andy has done a great job staying on my wheel, and I'm just trying to drag him up to be in good position for the end. So I like the outside here because then you get set up on the inside for this right-hander, which Andy takes way better than me. And then we're going to hit this left-hander and then head back down towards the bridge. So at this point, like, again, we're like, 15th or so, which at this point I'm thinking, oh, this is a little far back, like, we're not going to be surging from here. So I'm trying to make up a couple places and bring Andy up there. And then we're coming down here, and Andy says, well, actually, I have an idea. Why don't I just kind of go skirt, skirt, skirt through here? And then he almost gets taken out by this blue and red rider at the same idea, but he navigates around, and now he's like 5th. So I was like, oh, well, okay. Like, that's definitely better than what I was doing. So, nice job, Andy. I guess I did sort of my job to get him up there. And we come out of this last turn, I'm like 12th, and he's like 5th. And then you can see the front of the race, they just don't sprint. Like, they just stay in the drops like it's a normal lap, which is very confusing. And then this adapt rider, Ben, he starts sprinting, and I'm sprinting from the corner, basically. And I get up in front of Andy, and I'm like, oh, this is still kind of a lead out. And then I look back, and he's kind of getting distance. I'm like, oh, I guess it's sprinting for me. And then there's a guy on my right here who I'm gunning against, and end up getting him at the line. I was not totally sure what was going on. So it turns out this highlighter guy, he was up the road after a preem, and he won the race. And then Ben from Adapt, he got 2nd, and I got 3rd, which was not the plan at all, but it's not bad, so I'm not going to complain. And what this made me think of was there's that saying, early bird gets the worm, but the second mouse gets the cheese. And today, I was the lucky mouse who got the cheese. Usually that's true. Usually the early birds do get the worm and crits, but today just worked out. Anyway, super fun race. I haven't done Janesville before. This is the first time they've done this particular route, and I liked it a lot.